What's up, YouTube? This is a 2006 Buick Lucerne that we picked up from the auction here in Seattle for $1,500. It has a few issues. When I picked it up, it was leaking coolant and the power steering didn't work. So before I brought it back, I did get the coolant dealt with. It was kind of the classic 3800 V6 cooling elbows. If you don't know about those, you can look them up here on YouTube. But there's two plastic cooling elbows which tend to fail over time, and they can be replaced with metal. And so we had to get that done before bringing the car back. It was completely covered in Bigfoot stickers, so we've removed those. It's got just a few dings and nicks. So you've got this right here, another scrape right there. We go over to the driver's side. You've got a crunched fender. It's in fairly rough shape there. And then over on this side, we've got another crunched fender and even a little rip in the steel. Now, the good news is, when I went online, you can get a pair of fenders for this delivered for under $150. So that's going to be a fairly straightforward fix. Biggest challenge with the car as it sits is it is painted in a white gold metallic premium paint, which is both difficult to find and expensive, whether that's touch-up paint or whether that's the actual paint that you'd shoot out of a paint gun. But the car itself is not in too bad a shape. Outside of that, the two mechanical issues, it drove out fine coming over from Burlington to Anacortes. The car has under 100,000 miles on it and had recently had a lot of service done to the ignition system. So a lot of service to the ignition module, new coil packs, wires, plugs, new serpentine belt. I suspect it also had a new power steering pump, because when I added fluid, the power steering worked fine, but it's leaking from the rack. So probably needs a new rack. I found one of those for a couple $100 on Rock Auto. And I've got a phenomenal mobile mechanic that'll put that in for a couple $100. The quote from the local independent repair shop for that repair was almost $4,000. So we'll be into it, less than $500 or less than $600 to get the rack in. And then we'll take you inside here in a minute and show you what the inside of the car looks like. Getting into the vehicle, it's got one key fob that came with it. Got a little bit of a squeak there. You can see this is actually the CXL model, so it's fairly well loaded up. Does not have the center console, which I would have liked, but it is, as you can see, it's kind of filthy in here. The car itself, as we kind of fire this up, you'll see it's 2006 Buick Lucerne, 98,382 miles. fires up. You got no check engine lights on anymore. Oh, there, it just came on. So we'll check what that check engine light is. I suspect it's emissions related because the car runs out fine. The car blows cold air. I mean, really cold air. It has the premium sound system, so Harman Kardon sound system, with the CD. Everything appears to work. So the main window works, driver's window works, passenger window works. Rear window works. Rear window works. Power seat works fine. Lights work fine. The car comes with heated and cooled seats, both working well. But again, it is just filthy. It smells good, but it had little trees, plus it had a bunch of air things on the vents that just got off the smell. So I had to take those out. Doesn't look like it's ever been a smoker's car at all. It did come with the receipts from O'Reilly's for all the new parts. It's got the original books. Got a bag full of plastic parts for something. Looks like seatbelt stuff. But those look like they're in fairly decent shape, but you can see the headliner is just filthy everywhere. Back seat, no rips, no tears, everything looks good. Car runs great. They'll figure out what that check engine light is doing, but on balance, not a bad vehicle for $1,500. The MMR on the vehicle is about $3,000, and the retail value, according to Manheim, was about $7,000 if it was in decent shape. So we're going to get this thing cleaned up. So next step's going to be getting a full detail on the car, kind of see what we're working with from a paint and body perspective once we get it cleaned up. And then we'll have to make some decisions around how far we recon the car. Obviously need to deal with the steering rack. We'll need to deal with that check engine light. Again, I think we'll run the codes here in a minute and see what that looks like. But the car is surprisingly comfortable. Never been in a Buick Lucerne before. It's surprisingly comfortable. It does have the 3.8 V6 as opposed to the Northstar V8, which is probably the better choice. Has OnStar and all the other good stuff, and everything seems to work, which is really a nice find. So it's one major issue, which is mechanically, which is a power steering. One minor issue, which I think this is a air injection system, and then the two body panels, which really, again, for about $150 I can get a pair to replace it. And then the tough part is trying to make a determination as to what to do with the paint. So we'll be back in a little bit once we get the detail started. So the first step was to on a detail was to start on the wheels. These wheels are actually kind of interesting. They're a gunmetal gray, almost a blacked out wheel, and I just noticed as I was kind of doing the initial spray down that the grill's also blacked out, so it's got a little bit of a gray blackout theme, but those wheels came out pretty decent, not bad. So next thing we're going to do is foam cannon the entire car and allow that foam to just kind of run off a bit and get the biggest grime off, and then I'll do a 2-bucket wash and get her cleaned up and see what we're really dealing with. Okay, what we're going to do now is just let this kind of run off from the foam cannon. But you can see it is just filthy, just watching dirt roll off it. And that paint is kind of cool. I don't know if that's coming out on camera, but it's got a neat sheen to it. Unfortunately, that's also making it difficult to do the body work. The car doesn't look bad when it's actually all covered in paint. You can't, or in foam, and you can't see the body work. But we'll let this drip. In the meantime, I'm going to get the 2-bucket wash ready, and we'll get this thing scrubbed up. So got the wash done. Everything looks pretty good. I think the plan for that area and the one on the other side, a couple spots on the other side, is I'm going to get a set of the touch-up paint mixed up in an aerosol, along with the clear coat, and that'll kind of make a fairly good difference in how that looks. I mean, this all cleaned up fairly well, just with a wash. We do have the 2 parking sensors missing. I could pick a couple of those up off of Amazon. They're pretty cheap. Fill those holes. We'll get that cleaned up, but that's I'm just gonna touch that up with the right color paint. This door will not open from the inside, from the outside, locked, unlocked. So I'm guessing the handle is disattached from the latch, or there's a problem with the latch, but we'll cross that bridge later. That's going to get touched up. That'll get touched up. But the car came out nicer than I expected, actually, after a good cleaning. And next is the filthy interior. Absolutely filthy interior. You can see it is just nasty. I mean, that's just nasty. And the headliner is just, I don't know how the heck people get this much dirt on a ceiling of a car. But we're going to start on this next. So we've used a diluted all-purpose cleaner to get us to this point, which is pretty darn good and much better than it was before. You can see we've cleaned up all the nastiness that was on the seats and door panels. We used a light brush and the diluted all-purpose cleaner to get most of the spots off the ceiling and headliner. We've got the bulk of the dirt out of here. So next steps are going to be getting the interior cleaned up with a real detail, so vacuumed and get the leather treated. And then once that's done and I hear back from my mechanic, we'll look at what we need to do to get the steering rack fixed so that it no longer leaks steering fluid like a waterfall. And then the car will be ready to go once I touch up the paint. And we've got about 3,000 into it now with all the repairs associated with the cooling system. We'll probably be closer to 4 by the time we're done. And I think I could probably get 5,500 out of it, based upon kind of the condition, the miles, and the age, which would be a win-win for everybody. So this is going to be our Saturday work tomorrow we'll get the interior detail done and hopefully hear back from Dylan so we could get the mechanics figured out.